Okay. Is it time? Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular council meeting for Tuesday, October 21st. It's currently 7 o'clock. Before we get started, the Village of Anmore would like to open our meetings by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. That'd be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we'd like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many tutorial keepers of these lands and waters around us since time immemorial. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could I get someone to move the recommendation for approval of the agenda? Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Public input. Matters raised here for Council's consideration should be constructively focused on agenda items only. 2-minute time limit. Anybody for public input? No? Okay, we don't have any delegations. We have minutes of the regular council meeting held on October 7. Could I get someone to move the recommendation? Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? No? Okay, we have a consent agenda. I think we only have one item on the consent agenda, so could I get someone to... Oh, right, sorry, local, okay, 2. Anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda? No? Could I get someone to move the consent agenda? Second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, we have legislative report. We're on to 9A, 1472 Crystal Creek Drive, Development Variance Permits DVP 2025-05, report dated October 17, 2025, from our planner, who is being filled in tonight by Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so at October 7th, 2025 regular council meeting, staff were directed to issue a notice of council's consideration of a DVP to vary section 9.14 of Anmore zoning bylaw. This was in relation to decreasing the rear yard setback for accessory buildings and structures from 7.6 metres to 2.6 metres to allow for a proposed deck and deck cover at 1472 Crystal Creek Drive. The report is attached to, the previous report is attached to this report. As outlined previously by a colleague, Josh, he identified that the DVP would only be considered for the deck and the cover, and this would not be allowed to be used in relation to infilling the structure to a permanent structure into the future. This was added into the DVP notice at this time, and the DVP is attached. So, in relation to this report, put the motion on the table if Council would like.
Please.
That Council issue Developments Variance Permit DVP 2025-05 to vary section 9.1.4 of Anmore zoning bylaw numbers 568-2017 to decrease the rear yard setback for accessory buildings and structures from 7.6 to 2.06 metres to accommodate a proposed deck and deck cover at 1472 Crystal Creek Drive.
Good. Could I get someone to move that? Moved and seconded. I'll open up for discussion. Councillor Trowbridge.
This request, is it consistent with anything else you're aware of in the village that we've authorized? So I understand if a building has shrunk that setback where we are, but in my mind a deck is different. However, we need consistency throughout. Have we authorized or denied anything like this in the past with respect to a deck?
Not that I'm aware of from past knowledge. I know that there are, like usual in most municipalities, non-conformances in relation to zoning bylaws. Something might have happened previous to the new bylaw being established. So there may be decks covers which aren't exactly correct in the village. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the case in any municipality. And so, you know, as this came up through a building permit process, you know, the right thing to do is to make sure that we vary it with a variance here so it's legally correct as it moves forward.
So it's the variance itself, or this type of variance, is not unusual in any way, shape, or form.
No, and again, as staff, we will review it, and because it was already given, it was a replacement of an existing deck as well, is another important component that went through variance board previously. And so as we reviewed it, this is actually a replacement of something that was already there. And so again, that's why it's there. And when you look in the context of it and the way the interior the rear yard setback is established, it could even be established as even an interior one when you actually look at the site. So as it went through the review, it actually made sense to support the variance.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I just had a couple. When this came to us last meeting, it is quite a challenge to determine the front and the side yard setback on this lot. It's quite when you look at the topography. I did, when I read the earlier Board of Variance thing, I kept thinking to myself where the hardship was in this. But again, the fact that it was there, it's being replaced. I just think that it's really important that on page 14 it says, in accordance with Section 49 of the Local Government Act, notices will be put forward regarding the affected property owners have been sent out, and has there been any conversations at all?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
And they were hand delivered, like with the mail strike and everything. So
I believe the neighbor actually is supportive of it.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move on to 9B, and I will be recusing myself for the next couple items as they are infill applications.
I will also recuse myself
I'll leave this.
for the same reason.
So while you guys are recused, do we do B and C?
Do B and C, yeah.
Okay, which means you have to put up with me. Okay, legislative reports, 9B, 2420 Leggett Drive zoning amendment bylaw number 719, 2025. Report dated October 17th, 2025 from the planner attached. Mr. Boyd?
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to present to Council with a summary of an infill development rezoning application for 2420 Leggett Drive and to provide an option to grant first and second reading and third reading, to the Anmore zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw 719-2025 for the proposed infill property. This property has been before Council previously back in July 2022. And it was sent to the APC because it had some non-standard pieces to it. The main piece for this property in relation to it was a non-constructed highway next to the property, and the nuance being was the frontage on that roadway to be considered consistent with the policy for the infill policy. It proceeded to APC. APC debated it and provided a recommendation at that Planning Advisory Commission, and I'll just read that out, that the Advisory Planning Commission recommend to Council that the rezoning application for 2420 Leggett Drive zoning bylaw amendment 719-2025 be supported as presented. So staff are now bringing it before Council for Council's for consideration tonight. And again, what it was really in relation to was a guideline number 4 to the village's infill policy, which states the following: to maintain a semi-rural character and to maintain green space between homes, all parcels created through infill must have a 25-meter frontage on a public highway. So again, this is in relation to the 25-meter frontage that surrounds the property. So there's one in front and there's one to the side, but the one to the side does not look like a roadway because it's actually an unbuilt roadway parcel and it's all forested. So that was the nuance in relation to does this consider consistent with a policy or not. And again, APC were supportive of this rezoning application. If you'd like, I can read the recommendation.
Yes, please.
The Council give first, second and third reading to Anmore zoning bylaw amendment number 719-2025.
So someone to move? Second? I'll open it up for discussion. Councillor Trowbridge? Oh, Councillor Richardson.
So just a few clarification points, because we've just come across setbacks on front versus side versus back. what is actually going to be considered the front of this property?
That's a great question. I think on this application, it would be the front would be considered Leggett Drive, so the unbuilt road designation.
And then when I look at it, the current easement for the driveway is bisected this property, and the entire easement is being transferred to the new proposed lot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so now the covenant for this will be 3 lots instead of 2. And then I have one other question which I don't see on the drawing. If you visit this property, there is a gate which Anmore put there, which has an easement going to the park access, which is on the unconstructed Leggett Drive, which is also where the bridge goes, which used to be gravel and is now blackberries, alders, and everything in between. But that easement is not on here. Like, was it never put on? Is that gate going to be removed? Like, I don't want to be difficult, but it is physically there.
Yeah, it is within the legal documentation. I believe it's attached to this agenda. Just let me find it. So it is on page 66 of the agenda. You'll see a statutory right-of-way plan.
Okay, yeah.
And so that would be, excuse me, but my assumption would be that's where the gate is actually positioned, and that is a statutory right-of-way, which would be established for the village to gain access to that parkland.
Okay, so the only concern I have with that is that the building site is bisected by that right of way. So a village truck will unlikely be able to get through the house.
So as part of the subdivision review process,
Yeah.
that's where we could amend the right-of-way agreement to further back on the property to ensure that there's still access to land beyond.
Okay, anything else, Councillor Richardson?
Yeah, my other point is that access has never been used in the last 15 or 20 years or whenever that was done. Anyway, okay.
Okay, Councillor Trowbridge?
I think Doug asked my question, but I just want to make sure. So that easement during the subdivision process essentially gets shifted.
Yeah, that's what we would negotiate with the applicant. That if we look at it as a municipality in terms of trying to work with the applicant. We obviously, as my job as the approving officer, would be to ensure that the public good is still maintained.
Right.
And so if during the subdivision process we can't negotiate a right-of-way agreement that still makes sense, I would not sign off on the subdivision at that point.
Yeah, you won't approve it.
Yeah.
Okay. And the property actually, its official access is to a public road
Correct.
right now.
Yeah, so there's an existing driveway that it accesses right now, so no new infrastructure would need to be built to gain access to a public highway.
Which is the critical point.
Which is the important part in the
Yeah.
infill application, that we don't want to inherit new infrastructure to
Yes.
support an infill lot.
I'm satisfied, thanks.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sure.
Just to summarize my point of view, because I've had a few questions on this. The key aspects to me is, does it change the look and feel of the village? Only 2 people are likely ever to see this house, so no. Does it have lots of road access? Yes. And the prime concern, which was just mentioned, does Anmore have to take any new infrastructure? And the answer is no. So based on all those, even though it's weird, I'm in support.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Next one, 9C, 230 Fern Drive zoning amendment bylaw number 724-2025. Report dated October 17th, 2025 from the planner attached.
26.
Mr. Boyd, you're up again.
1 second. All right, I made it to the page. Okay, so the purpose of the report tonight is to present to council with an infill development rezoning application for 2030 Fern Drive and provide an option to grant first, second and third readings to the Anmore zoning bylaw amendment number 724-2025. Okay, so again, this is an infill application. So in relation to in July in 2018, the village adopted the official community plan amendment to enable infill development. And as part of that policy, we created a policy called RLU 16, which, to break it down is 6 points. The points that we normally consider are the following. Has the lot been created in the past 5 years or part of a previous comprehensive development plan? This parcel has not been created in the past 5 years. The parcel must be between 0.98 acres to 2.04 acres. This parcel is 1 acre in size, so it meets the requirement. Does the proposed parcel of land have an average slope as determined by a registered surveyor equal to or less than 20%? The existing parcel is less than or equal to 20%, so it meets the requirement. Does the proposed parcel of land have a building site that is equal to or less than 20%? A building site with a slope less than 20% has been identified, therefore meeting the requirement. Is there a requirement for extended or expanded municipal infrastructure? The parcel land fronts onto Fern Drive and Magnolia Way, which contains all the required infrastructure, so meets that requirement. And lastly, does the property have at least 50 metres of frontage onto a public highway? And it is confirmed that it has 141 metres of road frontage onto Fern Drive. There is one nuance with this proposed development. There is a small shed located on the northeast corner of the lot and will require removal or relocation from the property setbacks. Also, staff have identified that there's a 56 square metre garage located 2.37 metres from the parcel line and is encroaching in the parcel lines, and this would also be encroaching onto the 3 metre interior setback. So variance permit would be required to enable the homeowner to keep the existing structure. Okay, next point is this application could be referred to the advisory planning committee. However, this application is consistent with the requirements of infill policy. Staff does not recommend rezoning application is referred to the APC for comment. And finally, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is attached, and there are no modifications recommended to this zone other than amending the maps and Schedule A of the bylaw to include this parcel. So in summary, staff recommend that this move forward in the rezoning process. If you would like, I can provide you with the resolution.
Yeah, if you could read the recommended resolution.
Yep. That council give first, second, and third reading to Anmore zoning bylaw amendment number 724-2025.
To have someone to move this? Moved by Councillor Richardson, second by Councillor Trowbridge, and I'll open it up for discussion. Councillor Richardson.
Could you just clarify, please, what you just said? Because it's come up now twice already. For the current house on the property, the lot line dividing the two will be the rear setback, and for the other property, it'll be an interior property thing, so it's both an interior line and a rear line, depending on which side you're standing on?
So typically the way that we review this, so the existing house, typically we look at which has the longest road frontage to determine which would be the frontage line, the front yard setback.
So the frontage will, like the driveway that's currently there will no longer be the frontage will now move to Magnolia.
Yeah, and so again, with some of these infills, we look at it in terms of,
Okay.
we try and look at it in terms of, okay, what makes the most sense when you're looking at the property, because some of them, it's so nuanced that we're trying to ensure that we
I'm just going to make one comment for future.
Yeah.
I think we should have something in our zoning bylaws that if a line is, interior line on one side and rear on the other, that we default to the minimum setbacks on both sides of the line or something, because it's goofy that you're restricted on one side and not the other. At least I find it goofy. Anyway, that's all.
Yep.
Okay. Any comments, Councillor Trowbridge?
No, I agree with Councillor Richardson. I know we can't have a completely prescriptive kind of policy in these situations. We have to leave some freedom of thought and judgment. But if we could have something that said under X circumstances we defer to, it would just ensure consistency for future applications. Like one of the most important things I think in these types of applications is that we treat everyone the same. So I like what's being suggested, if that can happen.
So for clarity, for staff, do you want to amend the motion or add a motion onto it? I prefer to my corporate colleague.
Do you want to amend the motion, like a friendly amendment, or?
No, I don't think you can, like, this is an infill approval,
Yeah.
and that would be a zoning change of some sort. So it's just something to keep in mind, that if zoning comes back in the future,
Okay.
that we look at it, if that makes sense.
If I may interrupt, so sorry. It would be useful if we put that in a motion for future, something like future zoning application, future applications such as this to be aligned with XYZ. We need to set some criteria so that so that staff can bring an amendment to zoning bylaw accordingly.
May I?
Of course.
So could we vote on the motion that's on the floor right now, and then could we raise that as a motion, or does it have to be within it? I don't, what's procedurally correct?
That should be okay.
That's okay?
Yeah.
No one's going to prison?
I don't think so.
Well, just Essen. Okay, so sorry, are we going to amend the motion? Are we going to pass this motion that we just discussed and add
So to
another
make it clean, we can pass this motion, and then we can pass another motion regarding the future changes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So if there's no more discussion, I'm just going to say a couple of things. I think this is the kind of lot we sort of envisioned as sort of being perfect for infill. I mean, all the details aside, I think this was sort of what we had in mind, and I think it's all about the look and feel for me, and I think this will fit in quite nicely. So I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Before, I'm just going to agree with Councillor Weverink there. This is the poster child of infill, is
Yeah, it
the way
kind
I
of
look
is.
at it.
Yeah.
It kind of is. Okay, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, so now, Essen, do you have a resolution written up in that short amount of time?
I'm not very proficient with the technical terms, so if we can sort of figure out technically, and if perhaps Mr. Boyd can help me, because I'm not entirely sure what technically you want for the zoning bylaw to say.
As a point of order, can we bring in the other council members?
We're still technically talking about the
Okay.
infill. It's the same item, so that's why it's a bit muddy. But
Yeah, something along the lines of staff to bring back a report in relation to the determination of interior and rear yard setbacks as an infill application comes forward. Something along those lines, so it gives us somewhat clear direction there.
if council's
Yeah, that
comfortable with that.
sounds good to
Okay.
good to the chair.
All right, perfect. Then we just need to move and second and vote.
Okay, so sorry, you're going to
Move and second and then
Okay,
vote.
do I have someone to move that? Moved by Councillor Trowbridge, second by Councillor Richardson. Any more discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, am I done here? I guess I'm done.
Okay, we'll now move on to 11A, new business modification of the procedure bylaw. The recommendation came forward as a notice of motion at the last council meeting from Councillor Weberink, and I'll now refer it over to Councillor Weberink.
Thank you. I'm going a little rogue here. Basically, I came up with this recommendation last meeting based on our experience of the whole Anmore South consultation and Bill 44, our interpretation of Bill 44, the interpretation by our lawyer of Bill 44, what we can say and what we can't say at a council meeting. We then ended up in a case where we were threatened with litigation. We were thrown a charter lawyer that could have really challenged us, and I really got to thinking, and I had lots of discussions about Bill 44 and its interpretation at UBCM with other councils, and there's a lot of councils challenging it. And I thought it was interesting that we sent a letter, I think it was to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, even said in that letter that we should talk to our lawyer, which tells me that the legislation, I mean, legislation is legislation. It should be black and white. It tells me that it's not very black and white. So I kind of want to challenge this and the fact that we are not allowed to take public questions about development. It's the most contentious issue in Anmore. If we start cutting people off, and I know we've been following our own procedure bylaw, it's not us. We followed the rules. We followed our interpretation of the legislation, but I think it's hurt us, and I think it's hurt this community. And I'm willing to change our own bylaw and challenge the legislation a bit and do whatever it takes to allow, we've got another big development coming up. I don't want to cut people off that have legitimate questions. They might be questions about our OCP, our interpretation of the OCP, how we see this development. I'm not afraid to take those questions, and I'm hoping the rest of council sees it the same way. So that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I just wanted to just provide a little bit of clarity regarding the legal letter that we received from an attorney related to the Anmore South project. And I normally wouldn't even comment on it, but it was publicly distributed on social media. It really wasn't relevant to Bill 44 in that. It was relevant to the fact that our minds had been made up going into an open decision process, which was a public hearing. So a little bit of a differential on that, and it did just indicate 3 members of council, which again, reading back and what they were trying, it was grasping at straws to say the least in regards to how big of a stretch. But of course, as a council, we're always going to be the first thing that comes to our mind is protecting the organization first. So if it means even that vague interpretation and craziness was inferred something, we always will make sure that we don't say anything in the future that could even put the organization at any sort of peril. So that was the number one thing. I think the number 2 thing is, because I hear a lot about this Bill 44, and the challenges that it has, I think we also have to realize as municipalities, we're just sort of orphan children of the province and created by the province. We don't tell the province what we want to do. The province will, in essence, dictates us. They've created the community charter. They will tell us what we need to do. There was a big issue going on, and where Bill 44 came from is the housing needs report, and that was a fact that they felt that housing was being held up. Some would say leveraged to the individual municipalities in regards to community amenity contributions, and it was really limiting. Municipalities were using those fundings to operate the municipalities rather than creating housing which was desperately needed. So, I recognize that it caused much confusion. I think our representatives, our local representative MLA, didn't do much to assist in that in regards to things. I guess you can play on words and say, well, we can't comment on it, but the public can certainly ask the questions. But then is it worse us not even just standing there and not even being able to comment? So, I certainly think that we should refer this over to our legal team as well and see, because there might have been some nuances that have developed over the last couple months, and see where that goes. And then again, we could always send a letter up to the province explaining how the challenges that we went through regarding a very, what we thought was a very transparent and open process through a development, a fairly significant development that came forward in our own municipality. So those are a couple of comments that I have at this point, but I'll certainly open up to council. Councillor Cryer.
We moved in second at the last.
We have not
meeting.
moved. We have
We
not
haven't
moved
done
and
anything
seconded.
tonight.
No,
The last meeting, right?
but that was for the notice of motion. Right.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, point of order, I thought that the notice of motion was to just get it on the council agenda as a topic, then it still had to be moved and seconded to have discussion. Councillor, or sorry, Ms. Elroy?
I agree that the motion was put forward at the last meeting to be on this agenda, but in order to be debated, if I'm not incorrect, the motion should be moved and seconded, and then can be debated or amended as council sees fit.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to be talking about a procedural bylaw and be outside of correct procedure at the time. So I apologize for interrupting, but we should get this right.
Councillor
If I may, through the, oh, sorry.
Well, if you
Do we
want,
need to
so
call
I
the
was just,
motion?
I was just adding some background in regards to Councillor. So if you'd like to move this motion,
Okay, moved.
somebody second it. Second, okay. Councillor Cran.
Okay, thank you. Okay, couple of things. I have mixed emotions. I appreciate you bringing it forward because I do think we need to speak about it transparently. That bill itself is a bad bill. There were multiple bad bills that came across at the very same time, and it's what I would call a perfect example of the province fixing a problem, but then creating a half a dozen more. So there is much confusion over it. I also am not a proponent of blatantly ignoring legal advice or, breaking the law. And I do worry that if we don't follow proper procedure with, in particular, this bill, that it could in fact hurt the proponent. So that would be something that I would want to make sure procedurally we're not, bucking the system so we can hear what people want when we shouldn't actually be listening to it, because that is actually the bill that was put forward. So I'm not sure what to do about it after all of that. I would be interested in revisiting it, but I do believe we've already had was it a legal opinion we got, or was it from the province? There was a letter.
I can't really comment on any legal opinion in an open meeting, so we can certainly, if council wishes to consult, provide direction to consult with lawyers, but I can't comment.
Did we not
can certainly go in camera if you wish.
The letter, didn't we receive a letter from the province with clarity? Was that an in-camera, or did we release that publicly?
The province has indicated in all of their guidance documents and any communication to local governments that they should be seeking legal advice, as Councillor Weber alluded to. They have declined to specifically set a position on this legislation that they enacted, unfortunately.
Of course. That's brilliant. That's really nice. Okay, then I'm in support. Let's get some legal advice.
Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, I'm probably a bit more blunt on this than most people. I think we have a responsibility to answer the questions of the public. Bill 44 was designed in some ways to speed up the process, which included removing public hearings if it was in the OCP. And my great concern here is that 64B of our procedure bylaw sort of says any questions of council or comments to council constitute a public hearing. And if you can ask a council member outside the meeting or privately and get the same answer, I think you should be allowed to ask them in a public meeting to council. So I think 64B should be abolished, or, maybe worst case, it's by the agreement of council to be enforced or something. But to just blanket cut off any corners or any conversation, questions, comments on something that cannot go to public hearing or will go to public hearing seems gross overkill, and I can't imagine the province coming down on anybody doing that. So my motion, if I had to do one, would be that we review the procedure bylaw, specifically policy 64B, maybe with legal opinion, maybe with not, and get rid of it. I think we have a responsibility to talk to the people and answer their questions. So that's where I am on that.
Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to rehash the past, but that whole process of following legal advice was gut-wrenching in that I believe council would be crucified if we got legal advice, arbitrarily chose to not follow it, and caused a large lawsuit that cost all of our constituents money. So we were in a terrible place, or at least I was personally, because I'm a believer in answering questions when asked. We have nothing to hide. And I wanted many, many times to just answer the frickin' question. So it was excruciatingly uncomfortable. However, I'll defend our position trying to protect the village from any kind of legal challenge by virtue of accepting the legal advice and following it. That doesn't mean I agree with it, which in fact I don't. It also doesn't mean that I think it should perpetuate. I think this is something we should review. However, as much as I believe in questions and answers, I don't believe in question period being weaponized and used for pontificating or for intimidating or bullying or badgering staff beyond anything that's reasonable. I think if we're going to revisit this, which I believe we should, I think we need to set ground rules so that questions are asked. For example, it's my understanding, and I think it was Essen who explained it to me, questions are of council, not of staff. And if it's a technical question that council doesn't have an answer for, what we should do is say that'll be referred to staff and they can email the response at a later date or whatever. I think that's the procedure, but I'd like to have a fulsome discussion about exactly what the procedure is supposed to be, and I would like to put it out to council staff, public, everyone, that if there's a question period, if we're revoking 64B, here are the rules of engagement so that decorum and kindness are maintained, because what was endured was quite frankly shameful, and I don't want to see things degrade to that.
Good. Okay, so the motion that's on the table is that Section 64B of the procedure bylaw be reviewed in the interest of allowing more public input and questions at council meetings regarding all development in the village, whether development aligns with our OCP or not. So it's been moved and seconded. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Mayor's report, I've just got a couple things. This past October 16th, I toured the new Annecis water supply tunnel, and we traveled underneath the Fraser River from Surrey to New Westminster, about 2.5 kilometers. This adds a lot of redundancy in our water system, and it really states how, the intricacies that a lot of people don't see when they fill up their tap with water, the millions and millions of dollars that are being spent. It's really, really amazing. The other thing I want to remind people is about Halloween this year. There will be no village event happening on the October 31st Halloween. A couple things to look forward to though. The coffee shop is starting to get moving forward. That will be located in the village hub. And we're going to be receiving fairly soon an upcoming plan for the new extension of Ravenswood Drive and the redevelopment of Spirit Park. So that's all I have. Council reports. Councillor Cryer.
I have a brief report. Last Saturday, I went to the Tri-Cities Ministerial Prayer Breakfast. They do this every year, and it is by far my favorite event. The local faith-based organization, churches get together and they pray for politicians, which I think we should have that breakfast monthly. But it's always lovely, and I seem to always get to read a scripture, which is quite nice. But it's at the boathouse, and breakfast is terrific and very well attended. So I got to do that very early Saturday, and I loved it. I also went to mingle with Mayor Stewart, just a Q&A for the Chamber of Commerce, and also to, as most of you may or may not know, Richard Stewart is not running again. And maybe this is a good time to recognize his 25 plus years in politics, and he's finally had enough, and he's leaving, and Craig Hodge has announced his candidacy for mayor. So I attended that, which was nice to see. A lot of the recovering politicians that also attended. That's it.
Good. Any other council reports? No? Okay, Chief Administrator Officer's report.
Thank you. Just wanted to let everybody know that the utility bills have been mailed out and are due November 17th. We are unsure about the reliability of the mail service right now, and if there's going to be delays. So please, if you do not get your utility bill in the mail, contact Village Hall. You can pick one up. You can email finance@anmore.com to get a copy of your bill, or give us a call here at the hall. So they are due November 17th, and we'll continue to communicate that out. And hopefully folks do receive them in the mail, but we're just unknown on that. And that's it for me.
I just wanted to comment, the utility bill, I received mine today, so they are getting circulated, which is great. Any update on the sound? Anything new there regarding the sound?
Through the chair, so our sound technician was attending the meeting virtually last meeting. We also had several staff members who did so and reported back that the sound quality was good. We are still getting our quotes in for our physical sound mitigation, which will be some type of acoustical treatments, and hope to be having that installed in the coming months. We're just waiting for our last quote. We have to get 3 quotes, so we're waiting on that.
Good, thanks. Okay, general correspondence, letter from Metro Vancouver, from the Village of Belcaire regarding Saskatchewan Volunteer Fire Department. Great news that that's coming forward. We're going to be starting the design process in the 2 new fire halls. I believe there's a trustee meeting coming up on, is it November the 5th?
I think so.
November 5th. It'll be on this night. We'll have it on their webpage. So it's in this building. They are open to the public. Public question period. No? Motion to adjourn. Moved, second. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone.